Hello, it's Anna Pacheco again, Santa Fe 101. My guest today is Jamie Church, and she is the president and CEO of the Farmington Chamber of Commerce. Jamie, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes, you do.
Well, great. Well, the first thing I always like, I love that your email and everything says "Go Farmington." So tell me where that came from. We'll start with that.
Well, I am a big believer in where you live, that's your community, and you need to do all you can to make that the best community that it can be. So, obviously, what the Chamber of Commerce does is we are an advocacy group for small business. But beyond that, I have always had a real passion in my heart for small business and for small local communities. So when we were in the close down or the pause and businesses were closed over the retail season of Thanksgiving and Christmas, I really wanted people to think about every Saturday being a shop small Saturday, every Saturday being the local shop, support your local community. Because I really, these businesses, if we didn't support them during these COVID times, they were not going to be around when we're open again. They were not going to be able to sustain and survive. So I really wanted to push, you have to support your local community. If you want that restaurant or that small retailer to be there when COVID is over and we're open again, you have to support them now or they won't be able to make it. So we just did a real push on supporting local.
And I love your other tagline, connecting commerce to community. That is very cool. So
Thank
so
you.
that's one of the things you're doing is trying to, how do you connect the commerce to the back to the community then?
Well, I came out of 12 years of working in a nonprofit agency, an emergency children's shelter. I was their development director. And so I have a lot of experience with nonprofits. And then I have a lot of experience with businesses. And to me, having successful small businesses, restaurants, that's what makes a community a great place to live. So we all know that when we go visit neat towns or communities, we look at the restaurants or the stores or the quaint little shopping areas. What makes that town what businesses that does that town have that make it successful? But then you also have nonprofits and schools and hospitals, and they add to that quality of life. They provide services and things that make a community a wonderful place to live and to raise your family. So we have to connect these things. So nonprofits and schools, hospitals, parks, cities, they need to have those great relationships with the businesses because we know a lot of initiatives are driven by private enterprise. We know that when the baseball team needs a sponsorship, they're going to those small businesses to ask for sponsorships, donations. And so we really need to connect those more the nonprofits or those smaller, like I mentioned, those kind of programs or organizations that add to a quality of life. We need to connect them with the business community that's investing by having a business there. So to me, it's a simple equation. It's connecting commerce to community. And if you can do that successfully and you can collaborate and partner, then you're well on your way. So I really do believe in that.
Well, I like that tagline. Are there a lot of nonprofits that are members of the chamber?
Yes, almost every nonprofit, in fact, is a member of the Farmington Chamber of Commerce, and we have a very reduced rate for our nonprofits. And one of the programs I started before COVID in my first year as the chamber director was we have a business after hours, which is not unusual. Most chambers do, and chamber members can host this business after hours. And there's one a month, and we advertise it, and we do charge a little bit for those because we're doing a lot of marketing and really pushing that business up to a successful business after hours. But I knew that nonprofits, they don't always have that in their marketing budget. They can't always afford to host a business after hours. And sometimes their facility isn't really cut out to host a business after hours. For example, a women's shelter or a children's shelter. It's not the best place to have 40 people coming in. So we did a partnership where if you were a business, a for-profit business, you could invite one of our member nonprofits to be your special guest during your business after hours. And you could let them have some time to talk about their mission of their nonprofit, provide materials. So we do, I encourage every nonprofit to be a member of the chamber because we do a lot to share. If you're doing a fundraising event or something like that, we do a lot to promote that. Also, nonprofits sometimes think they're not supposed to market themselves, but you do. As a nonprofit, you do need to market yourself. not in the same way a business, a for-profit business does, but you want to connect with those volunteers, those donors. And so the only way you're going to connect with them is if you're out marketing what you do, attending events, networking. That is just as important in the nonprofit world. So I'm sure there's a few nonprofits out there that aren't chamber members, but if they're not, I encourage them, join the chamber. It's the best
And how
thing
many
to do.
members do you currently have?
We
Just in
currently
total?
have 530 roughly. Some of those are members that have multiple branches. For example, banks, they have a membership, but they might have 5 branches. Now, COVID has been difficult. We're still trying to catch up with some of our members that we haven't heard from in a while, just to make sure they know we still want them as a member. We did not drop any members in 2020 if they didn't pay their membership. We just put everybody on basically a pause and said, we'll catch up with you in 2021, and we'll still keep you as a member in our directory. We'll still, have you, if somebody calls, we'll still refer customers to you. We'll still honor all those member benefits, but we'll put your dues on a hold, because obviously if a restaurant cannot be open, they cannot generate income. And we're certainly, as a business advocacy group, not going to be saying, well, we need you to pay your membership or we're going to drop you. So we didn't drop any members in 2020. We just tried to just give everybody kind of a grace period and still do everything we could to promote those small businesses.
I love you just said, I think the entire world has been on pause for
Yes.
the past year.
Yes.
And so pardon my ignorance, but I haven't been to Farmington, maybe when I was a kid with my parents, but all I know about Farmington is that it's really cool. It's really close to Chaco Canyon, when you want to go up there, and that it's primarily an oil and gas community. But
Yes.
You were saying before I hit the record button on this for this interview about you're talking about all the incredible things going on. So tell us about Farmington these days, because of course oil and gas is such an important part of our state's revenue, but what else is going on in Farmington in case somebody wants to move to Farmington?
Oh, you're going to let me talk about my absolute favorite thing, and that's to talk about all the great things going on in Farmington. So yes, Farmington has primarily been in its past a energy extraction. That's where most of our economy was based, and we still are. We still have oil and gas activity, but we are really working to diversify our economy, still recognizing oil and gas as a very important piece of our economic sector, and it always will be. But we have so many other things going on. The first one I want to mention is our outdoor recreation industry initiative. We have 3 rivers that come through Farmington. We have excellent weather. We have one of the best public golf courses in the country, which is Pinion Hills Community Golf Course. We have some of the best fly fishing in the country. I was actually in Chicago, and we were in the Orvis store, which is the fly fishing store in downtown Chicago. And this was several years ago. And when we said my husband and I said where we were visiting from, they said, oh, you've got the quality waters. You've got some of the best fly fishing in the country. They knew all about us. So we have excellent fly fishing. We have that kind of weather where you can be playing golf on one day and the next day you can drive an hour and go skiing in Colorado. But we have a very affordable cost of living. So we have this wonderful outdoor recreation industry initiative going on right now, where we're encouraging small businesses that cater to the outdoor recreation industry to come in and look at starting your business here. We have affordable warehouse space, we have affordable office space, downtown space, and we have a great workforce. The other initiative—
A couple of questions. I have a couple.
Sure.
What are the 3 rivers?
So we have the Animas, the San Juan, and the— oh, I knew you were going to ask me. Oh, the San Juan, the Animas, and the La Plata. I wish my husband was here. He would know.
That's okay.
The 3 rivers.
The next thing I want to ask you is about the affordable cost.
It'll come to me. I'm pretty sure it's La Plata.
I'm sorry?
Somebody will know. I said, I think it's the La Plata. Animas, San Juan, La Plata.
Okay.
So,
but I wanted to ask you, so you also said that the affordable cost of living. So,
right.
I mean, if somebody wants to start a business there, because again, I'm in Santa Fe, my hometown, and it's not affordable. I don't believe any longer for most people. Tell me about the cost of living in Farmington. What if somebody's thinking of moving a business there? Talk a little bit about how affordable, or what would attract them. I mean, I know for me that, if something's going to cost me less money, well, I'm going to look at that place first. So tell me a little bit about that.
So we have the downtown corridor, which is our historic downtown, which just went through a major renovation, and now it's completely done. So there's new water line, new sewer line, new connectivity cables, all those things you need to come down there and start a business in historic buildings, right in the very historic corridor. And so there's good rental space down there. I mean, I never break things down by square feet. I'm always like, you could rent a really neat building for like $1,500 a month. So then we have our east side of town that has office space. And again, I wish I knew like square footage, but I know that as far as housing, it's very affordable. So the median house price in Farmington has gone up a little bit because our real estate is really booming here right now, like it is in most places of the country. But the median house price is about $198,000. Now I grew up in Durango, and we're very close to Durango, and I have a fondness in my heart for Durango because I grew up there. But I do know that it's not as affordable for people to live. And because we're just about 45-minute commute from Durango, there's quite a few people that live in the Farmington area and then commute to work, or they have decided that they're going to start a business here in Farmington or work here in Farmington and live here because the cost of living is so much less than Durango. But then, you're just 45 minutes away from Durango. So it's a perfectly situated location. And we have a wonderful community college here. We have a very good hospital here. So, I mean, we have those type of bigger businesses and bigger industry. So that attracts some people here who are looking for that in a smaller town.
Community, I know you're just part of the chamber. You can't really speak for the city of Farmington, but do you know if there are any kind of tax incentives or things to lure businesses?
Yes, there is in the downtown corridor. There's part of the like the Main Street program. So there are tax incentives, and I know that's something that the economic director for the city, Warren Unsicker, he has all the information on those different tax incentives, because I do know we have those type of things in place if you're looking to relocate. And again, our warehouse space. So I know that, again, speaking for Colorado, I can't speak for other areas in New Mexico or other states as much. I know that in Colorado, warehouse space is difficult to come by, partly because of the amount of land, and honestly, partly because a lot of the warehouses have been used for the medical marijuana and the recreational marijuana industry, because that needs warehouse space to store it. So I know that they are lacking in warehouse space, and we do have affordable warehouse space here in Farmington, as well as land that you could potentially build something on. So I think we're in that type of a situation right now where there are a lot of opportunities, and since the pause is slowly coming off of COVID, some of the momentum we had at the end of 2019 going into 2020, we're starting to feel that momentum pick up again. So I mentioned the outdoor recreation. The other initiative that we have going on is our Retire Northwest New Mexico. We're really working actually closely with the state of New Mexico, but also in our own little Northwest corner here in attracting retirees to the Farmington area. Again, because we have such affordable cost of living, we have some wonderful weather. I mean, we've got our days of wind and snow, but when we get snow, it's gone by that afternoon, and we might have like 3 inches and then it's gone. So we have very pleasant weather. We, again, have the golfing, the fishing. Our community college has one of the best programs for seniors in the country. It's called our Encore program, and it offers over 130 courses specifically for seniors at like $5 a course. It's very, very affordable. We have the Civic Center here, which brings in top-notch entertainment. We have, again, the downtown corridor, the river walk, where we have 4 to 5 miles of trails right along the river. So, I mean, we just, again, have so many things to offer to retirees. We do have an airport. Most of our flights go out of Durango or out of Albuquerque, but we do have an airport here in Farmington. It was just about to start getting commercial flights again, but then COVID again kind of shut everything down for a while.
And what about retirement communities? Do you have are there communities specifically for retirees where they can live and, till end of life? They do go through different phases.
Yes, so we are developing some of those. Now I'll be honest, that's one of the areas that we are working with, is identifying developers to come in and create those. And I know what you mean about the facility where you have the independent living and then you transition to assisted and then long-term care. So there's quite a lot of, you know, there's quite a few things that are just about to become public with that are happening, but we are really looking, our committee, our Retire Northwest New Mexico committee is actually actively interviewing and talking to developers and saying, you know, you ought to look at this area for that type of a community. And so at this point, at this time, what we really do have to offer is a lot of single family homes that are very affordable. But I get where retirees are coming from, because, you know, a town home or a patio home without a lot of yard upkeep and things like that is very attractive to retirees. So that's some of what we're working to develop right now. We also have our winery, which is Wines de San Juan. We have several great breweries and brew pubs that are just now starting to reopen again. So we just have a lot to offer. And we were so focused and known as an oil and gas community for so many years. And, you know, there was always the boom and bust cycle. And so we always thought there would be another boom. And we've realized things have changed with the Energy Transition Act and just the different policies going to more sustainable energy sources. So even if the industry booms again, it's not going to boom in the way it did in the early 2000s and in, you know, the 90s. It's just a different economy now. So we still want to support our energy industry here, because they give a lot to the community and they're a foundation of the community. But we know that that we do need to look at these other areas of development. Film is one of them. The film industry we know is very strong in New Mexico, and it's also strong here in the Farmington area because of the tax credit for filming in rural areas. And so we're considered one of those rural areas. So film is another area that we're looking at. And there's been a number of movies, including the latest Jumanji was filmed here. So we've had a number of productions that have happened here in Farmington or the surrounding area, the Four Corners. And so that's another exciting potential way to diversify the economy. So a lot going on here.
It does. And so what are the types of businesses that would really that would help Farmington grow? What could you still use? Maybe it doesn't exist. I mean, breweries or wineries, we have those types of things here too. But what is something that it's like, gosh, if we only had the XYZ company, what are some other things that some entrepreneur might be watching and say, you know what, I could provide that service?
Oh, I think of all sorts of things.
What could you be using?
Anything that is geared to the outdoor recreation, honestly. Maybe you're a manufacturer and you're looking for a place where you can develop a prototype and you can test out that type of equipment. For it could be anything from a fishing reel to a bike shoe. It could be anything. We actually have at San Juan College a maker space. So it's several large bays of equipment. So if you're trying to develop a product and you're trying to develop a prototype, you can actually develop that here. And we have manufacturing bays that you can work on to develop that product and even rent that manufacturing space out. And then once your product or your business is developed, you can kind of accelerate on to the next place and move out of the manufacturing base here at the college. But that's one of the assets we have here. But again, anything geared toward retirees, whether that's transportation, a tour company where you had several large buses or 15 passenger vans and you did tours with people around and took them to all these different archaeological sites, anything geared to the outdoor industry. Always I always think if I could think of 10 businesses I could start right now. The problem is I just don't have enough time to do them all. So I'm always thinking something like unique to this area, coffee roasting that could be then distributed throughout the entire country, coffee roasted right here, sold in some of these neat little coffee shops that are being developed. Anything to do, I think, that could potentially also benefit the Navajo Nation, with whether it's a business that's on the Navajo Nation or here in Farmington that benefits the Navajo Nation. I know COVID has opened up a lot of opportunity for things we didn't have here, whether it's virtual connectivity or masks or medical equipment, or just some of the things that during COVID, everybody realized, wow, I never thought I'd see a day when we couldn't find toilet paper on the shelves. And so I think it just opened all of our eyes to the fact that, things can change pretty quickly. And so I think if you are an entrepreneur and you've got a good idea, this is the time to start. There's grant funding right now for new businesses wanting to start up. There's opportunities for funding that weren't there in 2019, just because I think both our federal and our state government are working to help these small businesses recover and get started. So that's just a few things that I,
About
off the
the
top
like
of my head.
spas, we have a lot of different spas and there's a bunch of masseuses. And do you have a lot of that already in Farmington?
We do. We have two or three really, probably a couple really great spas, but I think there's always an opportunity for that. And I think again, coming out of COVID, it's going to take some time for those things to be able to operate at 100%. And I think it's also going to take time for the public to feel comfortable in those type of facilities right now, whether it's a fitness facility or a spa. But I think we could always use more of those type of things. The spas, anything health and wellness related, I think that's going to be a big trend in the future, whether it's dietary health or fitness. I can see a company coming in that specializes in outdoor fitness. That's all they do is lead groups on outdoor fitness. And then they could also rent or sell equipment to those people coming in, whether it's hiking or walking. And sometimes people that are older are, we really cater to the active outdoor retiree. We want people that are interested in outdoor recreation. And so sometimes people want to be out walking on a daily basis, but they might not be up for the huge hike up in the mountains with the higher elevation, but just a kind of business that works with getting people out once a week on walking tours around. We have a number of natural arches that are just in not Farmington, but just in the outlying area, but they're a little tricky to find. They're not like in Moab when they're all like right there in that place. So just any guide service that would work to take people to those arches. And we have a number of trading posts, again, not here necessarily in Farmington, but in the surrounding area, Four Corners. And there used to be a tour that would go around to the different trading posts and give the history. And so there's a lot. There's just some very unique things. And we know that within the outdoor industry and the retirement community and all these different things that we're working on, they're not the exact same type of jobs as the oil and gas jobs were. I mean, you had upper level management from Conoco, BP, BHP, Schlumberger, all the big oil and gas companies were right here in Farmington. That's definitely changed. We still have some of those large producers, but we have a lot of private producers now, and their families have been in this basin for generations. And so this is their home. And so they're still doing work here. But it's the other industries we're looking at, we know those aren't necessarily the exact same type of jobs, but they're still important economic drivers. I think the outdoor industry is one of the fastest growing industries right now across the country. It's not just here, but across the country. People are interested in outdoor recreation. They're interested in health and wellness and staying active. So,
And what about the Airbnb market? Do you have one in Farmington?
yes, we do. We have an Airbnb market. We have several really unique bed and breakfasts. One of my favorites is the Casablanca Inn. It is a chamber member, but it's a really neat, unique old vintage house that was, again, owned by one of the very, the families in Farmington that have been around for a number of generations. It's just such a unique B&B. So again, a lot of those have been under many restrictions during COVID, but they're starting to open up again. But there's always room for that, and especially in this market right now, where you can get a very unique property and then perhaps turn it into some kind of a B&B or an Airbnb, so that when people start traveling again, they're going to be looking for those type of spaces to rent, those unique homes or unique Airbnbs that are just unique to the area. One of the interesting things we have to do here is the Bisti Badlands, which is a national or a state park, and it's some of the extremely unique rock formations. And I know I met a guy one time from New York, and he happened to be getting coffee at the same place I was. And being a chamber director, I want to talk to everybody about what they're doing and why they're here. And he was from New York, and he had read about the Bisti, and he was coming to hike the Bisti. It was on his bucket list of things to do. We also have a very unique bed and breakfast called the Cocopelli Cave. It's actually a B&B built right into a cave. You have to know where it is to find it, and you walk down a little bit of a trail, and the whole, it's, I think, 3 bedrooms and a little kitchenette, and it's built right into a cave. And it's actually been featured in National Geographic magazine as one of the unique places you need to go see in the United States. And that's right here in Farmington. So
That's
right in
really
the city
cool.
limits.
How far are you from Chaco Canyon?
We are about 45 minutes to where you get to the entrance of the park. So it's about, yeah, just right about 45 minutes.
So if people were going to go, want to go to Chaco Canyon, would they stay in Farmington or
Yes.
Aztec or where?
No, you would stay in Farmington. Now, Aztec, of course, has the Aztec ruins, and then there's Chaco Canyon, and then also Salmon Ruins. That's another, now that's just right in the Bloomfield area. But if you were going to go to visit Chaco or the Bisti or fly fish, any of those things, you could stay in Farmington. Now, the fly fishing industry along the San Juan, there's many lodges that cater to fly fishermen that have the equipment and the knowledge and the guides. So those are, those are lodges or hotels that are within the quality waters. But for Chaco and any of these sort of archaeological hikes or cultural activities, Farmington is the perfect place to stay.
That makes sense. Well, we're out of time here.
Are we already? Oh my goodness!
It goes really fast, and we probably can do a second show, later on, because again, we're all kind of still in a COVID mode, but it's definitely changing. I can see it, and so there might be other other things that we'd want to highlight in the Farmington area as as these COVID restrictions just drop away, hopefully. But is there anything you want to end with today?
Well, I just really appreciate the efforts everybody is making, not just in our community here, but the whole state, the country, to work together to let's get out of this pandemic that we're all tired of. But our community is resilient and positive, and people are working so hard to see Farmington just grow and succeed. And it's just a wonderful community to be in, to live in. I've lived here for over 22 years, raised our kids here, and we will be retiring here. We won't leave. So it's a wonderful community.
Well, I'm going to help get the word out about Farmington. Go Farmington.
Go Farmington. That's right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.